You're listening to World's End Party Plan. I'm your host, Donnie Ego, and welcome back. I know it's been a long hiatus that we took there, but really just a lot of things are going on both in my life personally, which I will update you all on, and also what's happening in America right now. But first, before I get into that, I just want to say hello to my co-host, the Fruit Lord, the Edge Lord himself, Mr. Brendan.
Hi, sweetheart.
What's up, man?
Nothing much, bro. Fucking too much. Actually, too much is going on. Fucking too much is happening right now. That's what's going on. Too much is happening. Too much.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit going on, and we'll get into it. It's going to be kind of a shorter episode just because it's a single topic that we really want to talk about. And obviously, that's about what's happening in America, what's going on after the tragic murder, I should say, of George Floyd.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate acts of police brutality that have been happening sporadically, not only in the past week or two, but basically for the history of America.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll definitely get into that. I just want to make sure that you sound good on the mic here.
Yeah, bro. Pop it on the mic.
Yeah. We're using a different audio interface today. It's the same one that I'm going to be using for my stream that's coming up pretty soon, so I just want to mention that. I'm going to be streaming on Twitch, hopefully this coming week, if not the week after that, worst case scenario. But I have everything all set up. I figured out the camera. I figured out what games I'm going to play, what the deal is. So if you're into gaming, I'm also going to be doing a solo podcast, hopefully, like a live stream, just like a half hour on Mondays or something like that, and that'll be the new solo show. And that's going to be exclusive to Twitch as well. So just an update, there's only going to be one podcast available a week through Apple Podcasts, through YouTube, through Spotify, through wherever the fuck you get your podcasts, it'll be there. But then if you want to see my solo show, and then hopefully Brendan can come on at some point when he gets a new computer, and we can do streams of the show via Zoom or Skype or whatever, Discord, whatever we figure out, we'll bring you that as it comes along.
Boom.
So before we jump into it, I also want to say the reason why we've kind of been on a little bit of a hiatus, I think it's been over a week now, we missed a few uploads, it's just because my roommate actually moved out. My roommate and his girlfriend moved out, and so now it is just me living alone. And of course, I have this asshole popping through every once in a while.
Going solo.
Yeah, and then hopefully that'll be...
I'm on Cloud City. I'm going to get my shine on.
Yeah, I'll make sure.
I'll fucking kill myself, dude. Oh, yes, but continue.
Okay, there we go. I think you sound good now. Again, sorry if there's any kind of audio issues in the beginning. Hopefully I can get that straightened out. So he moved out. So now I'm paying full rent as opposed to half rent, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So he moved out. I've been busy with that. I've been cleaning up the house, which was honestly no disrespect to my roommate, but it was a fucking pigsty.
It's garbage.
And Brendan knows that more than anybody.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Being garbage myself, I could tell was garbage.
Yeah. So, here we are. So now I'm back. I got everything set up. I'm going to be moving more things around, but hopefully that doesn't get in the way of what we got going on here. So I told you the schedule, what the deal is. I'm going to be streaming. By the way, I just want to throw out my schedule there. Sundays, Mondays, and Fridays are going to be probably when I upload. So if you're into that, go over to Twitch. You can follow me now at Donnie Ego, just like my Instagram and my Twitter. So if you're into gaming, you're into podcasts, go check that out.
Boom.
So again, like I said, this is going to be kind of a shorter episode because I feel like I'm a little burnt out on this subject just because I've been talking about it with friends and family, coworkers. I've been tweeting. I've been just nonstop. And it's not that I'm burnt out in kind of a bad way. It's just that I feel like now I'd much rather take actions as opposed to discuss, because I feel like I feel a little helpless just kind of sitting and discussing about it when a lot of this shit's happening. I'd much rather be out there, and it's tough when you've got this coronavirus and things like that happening. So it's tough to kind of gather your friends up and go do something. It's always a risk.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to weigh out those kind of options.
Well, that's the thing, because I feel like, because I understand where you're coming from, and I feel, and in your case, you've done more than I have. Like you actually were walking around in the protest for a little bit.
I did. So my city here that I live in did a protest on Monday. Today is Sunday, so that was practically a week ago now.
Fuck.
Time fucking flies.
Fucking time capsule, dude. Fuck me, dude. Fuck.
Yeah. So, I did walk around. There was the local Black Lives Matter movement, had a little protest literally on my street, on my block. So I managed to go out and joined them for a little bit. Again, I kind of stayed in the back and away from people just because, I can't afford to lose my job. I can't afford to be out sick now. So that's the reason why I was in the back. But I did a little lap with them, and when they were starting up, I was out the window, and I was kind of like, obviously waving my hands out of the window out of support. It's that kind of thing that I think is the most important thing that the average person can do is get out there, say something, and do something, show it through actions, say fuck the police, because honestly, they've been fucking pigs up to this point. And literally my Twitter feed is full of, besides shitty jokes, it's full of just videos of this brutal police actions, them beating the shit out of a young girl with a baton. I just showed you that video earlier. And it's just disgusting. And honestly, I've been saying it since the start. Civil War Part 2, baby. Here it is.
That's it, man.
It's honestly, it's scary because I was saying that like 2 or 3 months back, and it's legit. It's kind of happening now.
Yeah.
The streets are running red with the blood of not just the protesters, but the police as well, hopefully. Because, listen, like, I'm not the type of guy that's saying go out there and fuck shit up. But I can't sit back, me personally, and be okay with, like, this one video that I watched. There was it was in Philadelphia. There was a protest happening, and what seemed to be kind of pushing and shoving led into these police officers that were on bicycles with their helmets on. They look like fucking idiots. Came over and they whip out their batons, and they're beating the shit out of girls that are 100 pounds at most, soaking wet. These girls are out there, and they're literally overhand to the temple with their fucking batons. You're seeing it, videos pop up left and right of people getting their car windows smashed by police officers, opening up the doors, pulling them out of the car, slamming them on the ground. You're seeing people still being held in that chokehold that killed George Floyd. Still happening every single fucking day around America. And I guess it's leaking overseas as well. I'm seeing videos from the UK.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a video of a dude smoking what looked like a cigar in his house, minding his own business, and the police officers, I guess, stormed in, and there's like 5 of them in his room, and they were saying, "Don't go all Black Lives Matter on me now." And then they all started laughing, and he was just like, "Wow." And I'm just like, "What?" And I guess he was half asleep, and they just barged in, and they were like, "You're in the wrong house, bro." So
what the fuck?
Yeah. So you see
Jesus
that kind of
Christ.
behavior happening.
This is America or overseas?
That was in the UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fuck.
And you'd think, too, I've been hearing my whole life that UK police are nicer, but I guess that's not the case.
Generally.
Maybe they carry less guns.
Well, yeah, they're better on that for sure.
So.
On that part.
But,
it is literally a fucking power play. That's what a lot of this is, in my opinion. Like on the police side, it is literally a power play. Honestly, I guarantee you, a lot of them get off to it. I guarantee you, some sort of like kink. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking dominate the streets. We're gonna have law and order the way I want to see law and order. And it's funny because I saw this. It's always funny too, because now luckily, we had all the officers that were involved with the murder of George Floyd. They're in custody now, which is great. But it's funny because around the country, I forget where it is now, but I think it was those 2 officers who I think were charged for pushing the old man over on the ground.
That was in Buffalo.
Yeah, I think it was either them or some officers that were going to be charged, and there were people coming out to defend them. And I saw this beautiful photo on Twitter. You probably saw it too, where the caption was, "What's the one thing that you notice in this photo?" And mind you, the photo was of people coming to the defense of the police officers. It was literally all white. It was all white.
Yeah.
It was a sea of white. It was fucking.
Yeah.
I laugh, but it's sad, but kind of hilarious at the same time because it's kind of proving the point.
Yeah.
And
the argument that I hear a lot these days is that, racism is not what it used to be. It's not the 1960s anymore. I hear that a lot, and that's implied a lot, especially from whether it be people in my family or it's people that I meet of the older variety. I guess they're in their 50s or 60s, that maybe they were around in the 1960s or they were children in the 1960s. And they say, oh, well, you know what, back then, at least, now people can go to school together. They could use the same bathroom. Like I hear that kind of shit being implied. And to me, it's clearly they're not opening their eyes to what's really going on. And it's disgusting. I remember this all kind of started for me and this is like recent memory because I don't even think I was born when the Rodney King incident happened, the LA riots. I think that was early 90s.
Yeah, I was early, 92, 91, yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't around for that one. And of course, there's been cases that have popped up from the time I was born in 96 until the one I'm going to mention now. But this is the big moment in my head. I remember I was on vacation with my family. I think it must have been at the Outer Banks in North Carolina, or maybe it's South Carolina. I was at the shore. And what was being covered on TV that whole week I was there, that whole 10 days, was the Trayvon Martin case. And that was big. I believe that was 2011 or 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And this motherfucker, George Zimmerman, who's not even a white guy, mind you.
Yeah, fucking dude's a fucking Latino, man. Fucking disgracing us and shit, bro. Isn't he Latino?
Yeah, he's Latino, I believe.
Fuck, dude.
Or he's mixed race. I'm not sure what he is, but I know he's not a white guy, I'm pretty sure.
Whatever he is, he's a fucking cretin. That's what he is.
Yeah. And I remember he started following Trayvon Martin down the street on his way back from getting snacks at the corner store, and starts following him, and Trayvon turns around and said, "Why are you following me, bro?" And he comes up, and this dude's armed. Trayvon's not armed. The George Zimmerman is armed. And Trayvon sees this, and I believe he reacts, like kind of pushes him away or kind of throws him on the ground because he's afraid of this guy. And then that's when George Zimmerman just shoots him. Like, doesn't even like think twice about it, just pulls the fucking trigger.
Rightfully so.
And but
0
what's
to 100.
worse about it, because in that situation, I mean, I'm not saying that it wasn't called for, or wasn't uncalled for. But what I'm saying in that situation, hold on, there's a car alarm going on outside. I just want to make sure that's not being picked up.
Fucking shit.
And in that situation, that it's a situation where Trayvon got scared, and he kind of, I believe, at least this was the case, is that he got on top of him. Trayvon got on top of George. And at some point, at least this is what George claimed in the trial, is that he was like punching him on the ground or something like that, which I find really hard to believe.
Yeah, he seemed pretty unscathed.
But the worst case about it, though, is that what I can remember is that afterwards, and after he was acquitted, and then he totally was just allowed to roam the streets, basically.
Sure.
Is that he gloated about it, and he bragged about getting away, and he had issues with getting, like, he still carried guns, and
wasn't it like a few months later where he got arrested for beating his wife?
Yeah, or something like that. I don't know. I just remember he's a piece of shit.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't his first time offense.
Can you know what? Can I just say, let's just take this moment right now just to fucking shit on any state that has any sort of, what do they call it? Shit, civil arrests, or like where you can kind of like become a community cop, if you will. And
yeah,
you can
well, it's also shit on states that have fire at will laws, or whatever it's called. What's that?
Stand your ground.
Stand your ground laws. That's it.
Gosh, gotta stand your ground there, buddy.
Where it's, if you feel that it's a self-defense moment, that you just have every right to shoot somebody, which is completely absurd and insane, and it's backwards. It's medieval, basically, at this point. I'm not the kind, and I'm also going to come out and say that I believe in very strict background checks and gun control laws, but I'm also the type of guy that, like, in the future, I wouldn't mind going through vigorous background checks and going through all of the procedures necessary, all of the security checks, everything, and I wouldn't mind actually owning a gun in the future.
No, damn communist.
But I mean, like, I don't want a fucking AR-15. I don't want an assault rifle. I don't need anything like that. I don't even need a shotgun. But I can see myself registering a handgun or something like that, and not even walking around with it like an asshole down south. Oh my god! But having a pistol, keeping it in my home for self-defense, like a low caliber, like a 38 or something like that, just to have, just in worst case scenario.
Did you fucking see that? Oh my god! Did you see that fucking video on Twitter where it was? I forget where it was in America, probably the South, where it was a whole wall of whites carrying fucking like assault rifles and shit like that against the gate for some reason, I guess to keep guard in case people act up.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know.
I laugh, but it's sad and it's scary, but like it's just like we live in a fucking cartoon. We are literally like a Looney Tunes cartoon, but like racist, basically an old school Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah.
Blackface and everything, fucking.
Yeah, it's
goddamn, man.
It's unsettling. It's concerning, the fact that it's still continuing to happen at such a rampant rate. Like, I don't think, and this might be a hot take for some people, but it's never going to be eradicated completely.
Yeah, as long as there's ignorance, there'll always be that kind of...
Exactly, and ignorance flows like water through people's veins, you know what I'm saying? Flows like blood through people's veins, is what I'm saying. So it's going to happen. It's always going to happen. As long as there's a divide in, like, socioeconomics, where people live, things like that. As long as people are divided by one thing, there's always going to be racism. There's always going to be violence against different races.
Oh, yeah.
But the issue is that the police force are not treated like how they should be, where it should be something that is a privilege, it is an honor to serve. They are bound to serve and protect, and that's not the case for a lot of these officers. They don't go through intensive training and psychological training.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important. They don't go through strict background checks like they should. Unless if they're federal officers, then it might be a little bit tougher to get in. But you can honestly be Billy Bob from down the street, and you take, I think it's 20 weeks of training, and then you're a police officer. Then you can carry a gun, you know.
Mm.
And they don't get down dirty with psychology. They don't get to the mind. They don't care. So you pass a written test, you pass a physical test, and you do a safety course, then you're basically in.
Jesus Christ.
And I don't want to disgrace the names of all police officers,
Right.
but a good chunk of you are fucking dickheads.
Yeah, well, I think John Oliver said it the best because what was it? I was watching an old police brutality clip from him from about 3 years ago, which is still relevant today. Obviously, nothing fucking changed ever. But he was talking about why it's so ridiculous when someone says, "Oh, it's just a few bad apples," and he goes, well, it's those bad apples that fucking basically rot the orchard. Fucking, it's just like, all right, you got to go in, like, which ones are rotten, which ones are going to be fucking good. It's just like, it spoils it. And that shit spreads like a goddamn cancer.
And the fact that every single day there's a new headline now, it's like so-and-so police chief or fire chief was just fired.
Oh, God, yeah.
It just goes to show that it's way more than a few.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'd even go out on record saying that it's probably half of you motherfuckers.
It's funny because it's always in situations like these where you see people's true colors.
Yeah.
And like, for example, like the photo that I mentioned earlier with all those whites like lining up to defend the police officers with not one minority there, at least seemingly. Mm-hmm. It's very telling. And then also, dude, have you heard, oh my God, have you heard the fucking police union's responses to a lot of these cases?
No,
it's fucking
I can only
disgraceful.
imagine.
It's literally like, I think when they were talking, I forget which case it was because there's so many fucking cases. They were talking about how, I remember now. It was a politician. I think it was in D.C. I think it was the mayor in D.C. that was speaking out a bit against the police brutality, and they were talking shit. They were literally saying that we shouldn't believe the words of a crazy politician.
Yeah. Well, that's half the issue. I'm gonna say it's half the issue is that these politicians are basically in charge of who's gonna enforce the fact that who's gonna enforce these police officers.
And these unions
right
fund them too. A lot of them.
Oh yeah. They're paid a lot of fucking money to keep quiet.
Christ.
So that's another issue to consider. It's that, we got to look at the police individually as people, but then we also have to look up the people that kind of corrupt them into this behavior, because that kind of behavior, that bullying and that corrupt behavior, that's something that's learned in the force.
Yeah.
That's not something, because you can have a cop that goes into it that is the most pure at heart kind of dude that goes in to protect and serve, and 10 years later he comes out as this corrupt guy because there's this brotherhood of like, we don't tell on each other. There's no ratting in the police force.
Right.
Especially in big major police forces like the LAPD or the NYPD.
Yeah.
That's big.
And here's the thing too is that fuck, I forgot my goddamn point. Continue. It left me.
Yeah,
like a bad apple, it left me.
I
Fell
guess
off
so.
the tree.
Yeah, like some of these police officers should leave us. Like, I saw that video, man. I wanted to kick that fucking officer's teeth in, bro.
Oh, you talking about the guy who killed George Floyd?
Well, yeah, that for sure. But the one that was batoning the fuck out of that young girl.
Oh, playing baseball with her head?
Yeah.
Oh, totally fucking prick. Actually, I remember now I was going to say, fucking, because onto your point about how this is a learned thing. When I found out that a few of those officers that were with that murderer who killed George Floyd, one of them was what, like third shift?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's not forget his name. His name's Derek Chauvin.
Derek Chauvin, fucking chauvinist. Yeah,
I think it's Chauvin. That's how you spell it exactly like chauvinism.
Yeah.
So
so the fucking Nazi guy. So when that chauvinist murdered him, fucking he was basically training these people. That were with him that were, most of them are fairly new, like brand spanking new.
Yeah.
Like a baby's
and
ass.
that's probably why they were standing there.
Oh yeah, but they're probably
I mean?
afraid and like because he's the intimidating one. He's been there for years.
Yeah, well, a lot of these officers too, and I don't want to excuse that behavior,
right?
Because here's the thing: it's that regardless, even if you are new, and even if it's going to make you look bad to your cop buddies for whatever reason to save an innocent man's life,
yeah,
Like, is that even a fucking question? Like, that's when you throw aside your fucking ego and your machoism and fucking say, all right, you know what? Get the fuck off this dude. You know, like,
Yeah, you're right, and that's the thing because you mentioned the
but they get pressured, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
is
for
that there's
sure.
that pressure to like, you're gonna talk to Derek like that. You're gonna talk to your superior officer like that. Fuck you, bitch.
No, it reminds me of. You're right. It reminds me of kind of like being in either kind of like a middle school or high school environment where you have the popular kids, and you know, and then
That's a good analogy.
and you're the insecure one, and God forbid you speak out against the popular kid, and then you're cast out. You know, because what was it? I was watching this fucking news report from a couple of years ago where it was this police officer, a good police officer, who actually reported what do you call it? Some of the injustices that his fellow peers were doing.
And what, did he get canned, I'm guessing?
Well, he didn't. He left at the end. But
Okay.
you know what they did? They would put literal dead rats on the hood of his car. They
Really?
would fucking do all these rat references.
Yeah,
to
another
this
thing
guy.
that they do is they give you like the worst neighborhood to be in.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
they'll
and
station
also-
you in like the bad district, you know?
Apparently, he called for backup, and they wouldn't show up for backup.
Yep. They do a
Shit
lot
like
of
that.
fucked up shit.
And it's so Chad. It's such a fucking Chad thing to do. I swear to God, man.
It's
Fucking
gross.
fraternity
It's high school college fraternity bullshit. It's drama. It's sad that two fucking nerd podcasters have to sit down and say this. You know what I
Fucking
mean?
shit.
It's like we're not even. I don't know.
And here's the thing, man. I know what you mean, and we mentioned the NYPD, and I have a lot of experience with them. You know, since I grew up in the city, and I have people who are close to me, you know, who were in NYPD, and you know, it sucks because whenever I encounter them, kind of like a fucking Pokemon, whenever I encounter an NYPD officer, most times than not, either on the surface, they always seem nervous. Number one, they always seem like they're very uptight, waiting for anything to happen. Admittedly, it could happen because you're a cop. Anything could happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, let's not put. You know, yes, we do acknowledge that definitely. But when, like, for example, I was in Manhattan and I was trying to ask for directions, and the cop needlessly was fucking like treating me as if I was a fucking nuisance. Like, what? Where are you trying to go? No, I need a location. Where are you trying to go? Like, dude, okay, so number one, all right, so you're gonna start yelling, making me nervous. Now when I'm nervous, I can't think straight, and then now I am becoming what you thought I was doing.
I
in the
would
first
much
place.
rather. Let me tell you this. I would much rather get lost in the middle of fucking nowhere than talk to a police officer and ask him for directions. I refuse to be friends with a police officer. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't trust you. That's a lot of responsibility. You get to carry that gun. You get to act like you're better than me, and I'm not cool with that.
No.
I'm not cool with that. Just because you're on a salary to fucking shoot
By
whoever
us.
you feel necessary.
We fund
exactly.
you.
We fucking pay you. And you're going to treat me like that. No, police officers should have the mentality going into it is not just, okay, there could be a threat anywhere, but it should be that I shouldn't have to think that way. And I think that's the mentality you should have as a police officer. I mean, yeah, they put their life on the line, and there are a decent amount of good cops out there.
Yeah, and I met a few.
Yeah, I met a few as well.
Yeah.
I know a few, but a lot of them just act like just so superior, and I'm not with it. I'm not with any of this behavior that's happening.
Oh yeah.
Frankly, I'm totally on board with defunding a lot of their bullshit. I think they get paid way too much. Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Same with the military.
Yeah.
Fucking shit. And you know what? It's
We put way too much money in enforcement in general.
but we gotta protect ourselves. I love it.
Against who, bro? Like, when you're the biggest gang on the fucking planet, like, who's gonna protect us against you?
Russia. No, but here's the thing, man. You're right. And what was it? I love how people that always respond with that. Typically, people on the right, not all of them, but typically like your Fox News conservative, they'll respond. It'll be either 0 to 100. It'll basically be like, oh, you want to defund? Oh, so you want to deplete the entire military, deplete the entire police force? I'm like, fucker. There's the thing called balance. There's a thing called moderation. You don't have to go fucking spending $8 trillion to $0. That's not what the fuck we're saying. But no, you want to make it that way so that you can run it in an ad that's funded by some fucking hedge fund corporation or company.
Yeah.
But oh, liberals want to defund the military. Who will defend us? Who will stand by us? The Americans will with their guns. Stand up for your rights. Second Amendment. Fuck yeah. I'm like, it's all a fucking it's all a fucking jerk fest, dude.
You know what I love that's going around Twitter now? I love the memes going around of people saying, or at least just people are saying this on social media. Where are the Second Amendment rights, people? when all of this shit's happening.
Yo.
Like, as soon as, like, the government's like, hey, stay inside. The people that are like, fuck the government.
You know
like,
what, dude?
where are they now? They're like, oh, can you please stay inside? They told us to stay inside. We got to trust them.
And
Fuck you.
Well, there's that, but also too, like, I want them home, because if we bring those people out,
They're fucking nuts. They make us all look bad.
the ones, especially the ones that were fucking protesting in, was it Michigan with the guns
fucking
and shit?
racist white people. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all seal whites, as if it was a fucking.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And,
Yeah, white people. I'm just gonna go on record. I'm the only Caucasian in this room right now. White people are the fucking worst. I don't give a shit. My girlfriend is white, and I love her dearly. A lot of people in my family are white. Love them dearly. White people fucking suck. Like, honestly, bro, like, if it comes down to a point in 1,000 years from now when we discover, like, white people are the problem, the cause of all problems, we need to kill all of them, I'm on board. I'm on board.
No.
Kill my fucking great-great-great-great-grandchildren. I don't give a shit.
Oy vey. You know, it's
Fuck them.
It's funny because we had a talk about a few days ago on the phone about like what we were gonna like discuss in terms of what we were gonna expand upon on this topic, and I remember how I was talking about like getting into the topic of like the problem of the system, and you made a point. And it became clearer and clearer because I knew that you were right, but as I saw more things, it became more clear. And what I'm referring to is when you were saying, because I was trying to make the argument that well, we should definitely focus on the whites that are the issue. That we should be mindful that it's not just white people. But you were like, yeah, totally, you're right. But it is a very big problem in the white.
It's 90% of the issue.
Yeah, and
You know what I mean?
And what happens is that the more I see, and of course, when you follow a certain side of Twitter or social media, sure, you might just see one side. But the fact that it's so plentiful, like a fucking sea of apples in a fucking ShopRite, the fact that it's so plentiful, all these clips, all these photos of all these whites gathering up for causes that are either pro-cop, basically anti-minority, and listen, props to all of the white people that are marching in the protests right now. Props to them. You guys have balls and guts. That's fucking fantastic. And I'm glad that they're being led into the conversation. That's fucking great. But I don't know if you saw that clip. It's a very popular clip where you had it was a whole sea of whites where they were all kneeling on the ground, basically like rescinding their white privilege. And did you see that video?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was cringy as fuck. And now listen, the sentiment was very nice. It was like, listen, we understand our privilege.
Yeah, white people could just never do it right, bro. Like, it's always got to be over the top.
They try too hard, I feel like.
They try, well,
in that case, in that kind of like, social justice warrior kind of case.
They try to like really Shakespeare it. You know what I mean? And that's not the direction you got to go in.
Oh my God.
Just go out and march. Don't say shit.
Thy privilege I thus forsaken.
Don't that one white friend that's always in the friend group that's like, they ask all the black friends in the group, like, do I have permission to say the N-word?
Right.
Those fucking people. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I have to so hard try to get your approval that it becomes this whiny, corny fucking mess. You know what I mean? And that's the problem.
That's the thing, because I think that it could be
and it's still in the right place.
Yes.
Their heart's in the right place for sure. But nah, just don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Just go out, and if you believe in this movement and you support it, just go out, hold the sign, walk around, talk to people. If you have some sort of platform that people listen to you, talk about it. Don't be honest. See, that's another thing. Before I know where you're going with this,
Okay.
before you get into that, I want to say something. So I have friends that are active online, that have social media presence. They do what they want to do, and I've talked to them, and they're kind of afraid right now because they tend to be Caucasian. They're afraid of saying something because they know either they're going to lose a piece of their fan base, or it's a divisive and kind of, it can be incriminating. They believe it can be kind of incriminating in a sense, or they're just afraid that somebody maybe that they work for or whatever their situation is might hear it and think less of them, or they might potentially lose their job or something along those lines. You know what I mean? There's that pressure that comes from that. I mean, you wouldn't really know because you're also minority. But a lot of white people have that feeling. There's out there. First of all, don't be a pussy about it, is what I'm going to say. And I mean that in the best way possible.
Okay.
Is that honesty is the most important thing. If you have the potential to either lose your job, and I mean, if you're in a situation where you really fucking need your job and there's no way you can find a second job right now and you have bills to pay, or maybe you have a baby at home or something like that, then okay, I understand, you know, and I hope everybody understands that. But if you're in a situation where you're like, I can find a second job or I can find another job, replace this one, it's okay. I'm a young person. I still have time to bounce back. Don't be afraid to say what's on your mind, because I think that's another major issue when it comes to this whole idea of racism and how it spreads. Is there's people out there that may feel totally against racism in the best way possible, but they're afraid to say something. It's that silence that is the biggest issue, because it just allows this to perpetuate. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that don't be afraid to come out and say what's on your mind, because if you don't, maybe there's somebody out there that needs to hear that will never hear it.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you have that platform.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I like two thoughts came to mind. I agree with everything that they said there. I mean, the first thing is, because being a minority, one thing that I don't want to have come out of this, and maybe you'll be able to see where I'm coming from, is that I don't want people to continue to treat us like victims. That's the thing. I don't want it to be a thing, because obviously we are
and that's
victims.
got to be that kind of feeling that you had when you saw that video, right? When the people are like, I rescind my white privilege or something like that. It's kind of like treating you like, oh, like, hey, listen, hey.
You know, I mean, look, here's the thing is that I can, listen, like just watching the fact that people, you know, would do that, you know, I mean, I'm sure they knew they were being videotaped too, but the fact that you had hundreds of people willing to do that, I mean, listen, I even though it is cringy, it is a very nice sentiment. But I feel like if people think that that alone will do something to like really stir the pot in a positive way, it's not.
No.
But if you want to use it as a starting
And I
point,
think that's the issue though, is that a lot of these people kind of do it just to be like, hey,
lazy protesting. You know, like
that, and also because like they think it gives them the pass
yeah,
to like never do anything again, or it's like, hey, listen, I'm with you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
When in reality, what should be happening is that if you're a person that happens to be white and you believe in Black Lives Matter movement, or you believe in equality,
Yeah.
it should be a second thought to you. You know what I mean? It should just be like for me, for example, like when I saw what was happening outside of my window, I was like, I feel like I should go out and walk. And it wasn't because like I knew I was going to be on camera, because I don't think I was, unless if there was somebody filming. There's a good chance that could have been the case.
Sure.
But it's just something I felt like I wanted to do. And it's not like I have to do this kind of thing.
No.
And I think that's kind of half the problem, is that people feel like they have to
They're
do
obliged.
something.
Yeah.
No, do it because you want to, and that's when you know that you're for the cause.
Yeah.
And when it becomes more than just hey, I feel like I got to do something here. I got to go out and say something. No, just like the reason why me and you do this isn't because we know we have to. It's because we want to.
Exactly.
And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, like there's that legitimate passion there, and honestly, and it is a really beautiful thing. And because all these protests, the majority of them are people in our age group, you know,
Yeah.
and it's really awesome to see. Now, listen, come on, people.
Also, shouts out to that 70. Is he okay?
Apparently, he's in critical but stable condition.
Okay, shouts out to that 75-year-old that got pushed in Buffalo. I see you.
Yeah, dude.
I'm glad you were there. I'm really sorry what happened. You're never going to hear this probably.
Oh, he tripped.
He tripped and fell and hit his head, and it was bleeding.
Out of his ears.
Video. Yeah.
Fuck, dude. Like the fact that you make an impact that hard, you bleed out of your fucking ears.
But shouts out to that guy. He's the real fucking G.
Oh,
right
yeah,
there.
dude. Yeah, and here's the thing is that
Shouts out also, man. Shouts out to Buffalo too. Shouts out to New York. Fuck your police department though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? It's funny because I just found out about this now. So obviously, it's not new news that 57 officers that were in that Brigalia that were in that squad left. I thought they left because they were disappointed by what happened on the officers' end, but they left because of the officers being charged. That's what it was, or something like that.
Honestly, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be that.
Fuck! Oh my god! Literally, dude, I was fucking I gagged. I was fucking disgusted. I'm like,
Yeah.
of all the fucking. Listen, man. Like a lot of times I laugh, but it's a lot of times it's out of anger because it's just so fucking preposterous.
I was gonna say that before. There's a lot of shit that's happening right now that is so fucking bad and so fucked up that it's almost comical.
Fuck, dude. Yes, it is. It's like, oh my god.
It's like, how can we ever it's funny that we allowed it to get to this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a society, we allowed it to get to the point where it's fucking 2020. The earth is fucking dying because of climate change. Things are fucking happening. The ozone layer is being depleted. We're running out of resources in areas. Meanwhile, we're still fucking feuding over the the fact that your skin might be brown and yours is white, and you got a problem with that.
You
Like,
know-
it's what the fuck, man.
You know what's interesting? No, you're right. And I recalled this back in, what was it, 2008, 2009? I think it was like within the first year of Obama being elected president. I remember watching Fox News, and because I guess I hated my life, because I wanted to hear what the right had to
You
say.
got to
right?
hear the other side. That's what they say. Always say.
Of course, right?
Fuck you, Fox News, you piece of fucking fecal matter.
Well, legit,
Piece
but
of shit.
Well, this was the beautiful thing. There was and when I say beautiful, I mean cancerous. There was an old ass white dude. He was probably in his like later 70s, early 80s, probably some Wall Street dude. Do you know what he calls at the time President Obama? He called him a half breed. He goes, the president. He's not even he had a southern accent. The president isn't even a full black man. He's a half breed.
Oh, I thought you said Obama called him a half.
No, vice versa.
That would have been the funniest fucking thing ever.
Yeah,
bro.
but no, it was old fucking Wall Street white dude.
And let me
called
tell
him a
you
half
something.
breed,
Let me
dude.
tell you something. Obama's not perfect.
No, he's far from it.
Obama is
As a minority, let me tell you right
far
now,
from
fucking,
perfect.
especially with the Latinos, fucking the fact that he was the deporter in chief. Look, props for DACA, props for that shit.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna balance it out.
Props for the Paris Agreement too. I mean, that's different.
Yeah, I
but-
mean, fucking, great. Like, okay, we're gonna try and do something, but not gonna do fucking dick. Like, you know what I mean?
You know, I
It's
was
better than
watching on a
nothing.
side note. I've been getting into Running Wild with Bear Grylls.
Okay.
I don't know. It's like kind of older. It's from the Obama presidency. It's from that time, and he had Obama on that show, and they went to Alaska to go see the glacier that had like basically melted, and now it's half the size at that point. And I'm sure it's probably fucking gone by now.
Oh yeah.
But
Fuck
they're
yeah.
talking about it, and Obama was talking about like the drastic change that we need to make. Except he didn't say it like how people are saying it now, like how Bernie's saying like this is a fucking we're already fucking up big time. He was saying like, listen, I'm not saying that we have to, slam the brakes here. I'm saying. He's like, this was analogy. This was let me break down his analogy. So he's like, imagine you're driving in a car and you're going really fast, and there's a cliff that you know that if you go off that cliff, it's over. And he says, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna slam the brakes. He said you're gonna lightly tap the brakes so that way you can stop much beyond the edge. And I'm like, this was his last term. This was like maybe in the last year or two.
What a neoliberal response to that shit. Fucking,
Yeah, bro, I was
what is that shit
so-
called? Incrementalism. Oh my
big
god.
time, big time. He basically, that was the analogy, is incremental change.
Well, here's the thing. I know the fact that you want to have big change, but here's the thing: is that you have to take your expectations, roll it up into a ball, and light it on fire and shove it up your ass. Because it's not going to happen here in America. But what we can do is that we can go step by step, and then by the year 2040, we're all on fire. But hey, at least we did something. At
Yep.
least we passed a bill that said all cars can be hybrid by 2050.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing, too, is that to tie that into what we're talking about today, is that that's exactly what happened when it come to criminal justice reform and it came to addressing racism, is that people automatically assume because he happens to be a black man and was the president that he was totally doing everything he could to make sure that this shit doesn't happen. Like, people look back, like, I remember when Obama was president, that, like, none of this kind of shit was happening. I'm like, do you not remember Eric Gardner, Trayvon Martin?
Yeah, and do you not remember? And the interesting thing, too, is that...
Wait, when was Eric Gardner?
2014.
Exactly. Obama presidency.
And not only that, but do you not remember back in 2010 when the racist Tea Party movement came back about? When they were fucking
Yeah.
going hard about, he's not American. That half-breed is from Kenya. He ain't fucking American. And then what else you had there? You had fucking and then you had this whole thing about this birth certificate. And then not only that, but then you had Occupy Wall Street. Now we're getting into class issues. Now we're getting into class warfare. So there was tons of this shit going on under Obama.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tons of this shit. Now, was he the cause
It might
of all
not
of it?
be.
No.
No. It might not be as bloody as shit's happening now, where people are hitting the streets. But that's the reason why we're here now.
I mean, Baltimore was under Obama, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When that event happened?
Yep.
Fucking shit. Yeah, and that's the thing, man, is that it's so sad because we have this notion, as you mentioned, that just because this person is a minority, that they're going to do whatever they can to help out their people. But no, because we have to remember that we're all humans.
Money
and-
talks.
Yeah, money talks, and what do you call it? Not only are we all humans, but no matter our color, unfortunately, we are all susceptible to the same kind of corruption that's out there.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you
And
know,
that goes for, black officers on the force.
legit,
Same
and
fucking deal.
and not only that, but also fucking in my case, fucking Latinos on the force. I mean, I remember talking with some NYPD people where obviously I won't mention any names, but I remember talking to some NYPD people where they were talking about stop and frisk, about how it's like, yeah, it was justified. And these were Hispanics, and they're going into communities that were predominantly
Yeah,
Hispanic
look
or
just like
African
'em.
American,
Yeah.
and just like them, right? But
Yeah,
at that
brothers
point,
and cousins, man.
yeah, but at that point, I guess they didn't see color at that point.
Oh, no, it's
color
everybody-
didn't matter at that point. It's like, hey, well,
Yeah.
they're committing crimes, but it just so happens to be in neighborhoods that are predominantly minorities,
Yeah.
like 9 out of 10 cases.
Can I just take the moment to thank our lucky stars that we didn't get Michael Bloomberg as president?
Oh my!
Because that would have been a fucking nightmare.
Holy shit, dude! You know what's funny, man?
Although I will say I might take literally anybody over Trump right now,
Man, here's
which
the thing.
is very not something I normally would say.
No, and it's funny too because you know what pissed me off. Speaking of this topic is there was a clip. What was it? I think it was of Hassan Minaj, who I think is a pretty good comedian. He had on Kamala Harris to talk about COVID, talk about like race relations, whatever.
Yeah, that's why I don't fuck with him as much as a lot of people do.
I
Because
mean-
he's still pretty neoliberal kind of dude.
He can be. I mean, it's just that I think what was it? Yesterday I was.
He
I
can
was-
be where it counts, and that's the problem.
Right. And here's the thing is that the fact that, because let's say Kamala Harris, for instance, the fact that Kamala Harris, even though she's black, she's done everything that she's when she was a prosecutor to make things harder for minorities in terms of lowering the incarceration rates, and then also forcing people in prison to do like dangerous work, like being firefighters or whatever it may be, like laughing at the
fighting
marijuana
forest
issues.
fires, yeah.
Yeah, and she's a minority.
She kept motherfuckers on death row.
Yeah, no remorse, none of that shit. And so these things, people can be corruptible, and that's where while we during this time right now, we definitely need to focus on the specific issue, of white and black relations or lack thereof, and the injustices that occur there. But this is why I'm glad to see now that these the protesters and some of the people who are kind of big voices are calling for legislation. They're coming out with some big ideas about what can be changed, in terms of like policing in America.
My only issue is that how is that going to be enforced? Because you talk about the legislative branch of the government, and then you
Right.
got the basically people that enforce. You know what I'm saying? The executive branch is supposed to enforce. Meanwhile, we got a guy in the Oval Office right now that's telling people to shoot looters.
Yeah, when there's looting, there's gonna be
So,
shooting. Brent.
and
That's all it is.
under that branch, I mean, executive branch, I guess, speaking, it's the enforcement branch. It bubbles all the way down to the police. Like, who's going to enforce new legislation is the problem. You can make all the new legislation when it comes to police officers, but at the end of the day, I mean,
well, you're right because
it bubbles down to how can you weed out some of this behavior.
I got you. Money out of politics.
Money out of politics, for sure.
It's gonna be immensely hard.
Never
but
gonna
that's
happen.
Yeah, maybe not in our lifetime, but of course, always gonna hope for the best. But 'cause that's the thing, because let's say you have these laws passed, but you're still gonna have police unions fucking in cahoots with the courts. You're still gonna have them funding politicians, So those issues need to be addressed as well. Because for example, people talking about getting rid of qualified immunity, to help make it easier for cops to be prosecuted. Fuck yeah, I'm all for that shit. Do that shit. But there also needs to be a thing where, and I guess this is where, because what was it when I was younger? Because of course, being a lefty, like lefties are all about unions, right? Having a union, and the main premise is great, but having something like the police union, seeing how it could be a corrupting force, and seeing how it balances out with evil, like in that kind of case.
Maybe that's why it's important not just to replace certain corrupted police officers and weed out that kind of behavior, but it's also important to weed out these officials that work with them
Yep.
that perpetuate that bullshit.
Oh yeah.
So it's time to basically replace the entire union of police officers. You know what I'm saying? Like start over fresh. Like
Have an
honestly,
exodus, bruh.
it's really, it boils down to, and I'm not an ageist kind of person. Listen, I wanted Bernie Sanders to be president for the last fucking 8 years,
Yeah, dude.
basically. Is it
4
8? No, 4 years.
4
Wow.
yeah. How dare you?
I've been wanting Bernie Sanders to be president for like 5 years now.
Honestly, for me, I've been wanting him president since 2011, bro. As soon as I saw that man on Bill Maher,
Yeah.
talking that shit, I'm like, bro, get him in, bro.
And he's old as shit.
Oh,
is
yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
78, yeah.
But it kind of bubbles down to, at the end of the day, is just these old gatekeepers.
Yeah.
And not just, corporate positions, but also in unions and higher ups in the police. I'm talking about corrupted police chiefs that have been in the chief for 20 years. You know what I mean?
more.
25 years. And then you're talking about, commissioners and people like that. These are the people that need to be weeded out because they're the ones that are kind of pulling the strings and allowing this kind of behavior to happen. And it always boils down to boys will be boys. You know what I'm saying? It's always that kind of mentality where it's like, you know what? I understand he shouldn't have done what he did. He shouldn't have knelt on that neck there for that long. But, when you're in the heat of the moment, man, things happen. That guy you could tell he was crazy. You know, like they always have that kind of excuse.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's, and they can, and it sucks because they know they can use that because they know that it's a fact that things can go crazy at any moment. But the fact that it's their duty, it's their job to de-escalate.
Yeah.
And you see time and time again that, listen, because I don't know what figure, I know you mentioned half. I mean, look, like I'm willing to maybe say it's half, maybe it's a full quarter chunk. I don't fucking know. But whatever it is, it seems to happen time and time again that it goes from 0 to 100 way too fucking fast. Way too fast. And what was it? I think there was a story a couple of years ago. What was it in New York City where it was an Asian cop. He was fairly new on the force, and I guess they were going into a situation. They were very tense, and I forget what happened, but basically it wasn't called for. But the cop ended up shooting the person who ended up being innocent, and the person ended up dying. And apparently, he was talking. They talked to him after. Apparently, he was nervous. Apparently, he was this and that. And it's just like, what was it? Back to Hassan Minhaj. He had a really good segment where he was talking with a former, I guess, like police officer who was in the force for about 20 years, who also trained other officers. And he was talking about how they're trained to basically be afraid. They're trained to always be on the defense.
And that's what I was trying to go back to before when I was trying to say is that maybe they should not be trained to be afraid anymore.
Yeah.
You're the highest law in the land, basically, in that moment in time. And the last thing on your list should be that impulse to pick up your gun and pull the trigger. That should be the last thing on your list. There should be way more things that come before that, but unfortunately, and that's how it's written, too. Like, being lethal, that's the last thing on that list.
Yeah.
Literally. But it's not enforced strongly enough. It's not promoted. Yeah. It's not... People aren't talking about it enough, and it's... I don't know. It's tough. It's scary because it's like, I highly doubt any real progress is going to be made in our lifetime. And
I mean, look, it's while that is definitely a good possibility, I think that, and obviously I don't think you're saying this, but I think that right now we have a chance to get, even if it ends up being incremental, even if all these protests end up bringing to some sort of minor change, as long as something can happen, as long as a step can be, a solid step can be taken forward of some sort that can't be easily taken away by some executive order, something that's put down in law.
I want to make that clear is that what I was gonna say before you said something is that I have very little faith in the idea of change happening within our lifetime, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't fight like hell,
right?
Because that's all we have.
Yeah,
and I think it's important to go out there, and I think this is probably, I don't know, is there anything else you want to mention?
Yeah,
right.
What do you call it? It's I think that what needs to happen too, because I couldn't help but think, because when that video happened about, what was it, about a week ago, when Trump had the speech, and then he sicked the Nazi cops onto the peaceful protesters, talking about dominating and law and order.
Yeah.
It came to mind. It was it
was like Bolsheviks in the park, man.
Oh, totally, dude. Oh, fuck yeah. And what was it? I forget if it was either Manson or Carlin who came up with this phrase, but it was guns, God, and government. And how perfect was it? Because, here we are. We had our government basically demanding the First Amendment be on trial, right? And have these cops going down there, have their guns in hand.
In the name of quote unquote God.
Oh, totally. That's the best part about it. At the end, all for a photo op to hold the Bible awkwardly as fuck. And now we're gonna promote God.
Do you think that man has ever read a single passage from the Bible?
Fuck. If anything, he probably read passages that reminded it of him.
Yeah,
he probably read the Old Testament a lot, dude.
Oh, for
yeah,
sure.
dominating these dominating the villages.
You gotta make a
dominating
new
pillaging,
covenant, you know.
building a new following of disciples, to dominate the streets.
He doesn't fucking know shit.
He doesn't fucking give a goddamn.
I'm convinced he has like an earpiece at all times that just like feeding him what to say.
of himself.
Yeah.
That's it.
That he recorded earlier.
Oh yeah, totally, dude.
At like
All right,
4 a.m. when
recording
he's
at
hopped up on Diet Coke and McDonald's.
3:38 a.m. My thoughts are we need to dominate. Tell governors on the call tomorrow.
I loved it. Did you see his notes that one time that he like showed the people, and it's literally just big black Sharpie?
Was it really?
It looked like the handwriting of like a fourth grader.
Oh my fucking
Yeah.
god!
My
dude.
grandparents
Well,
found
the
a
small
note.
hands, I
my
mean.
grandparents found a letter that I wrote to my grandma that when she was in Florida, I sent her a letter, and it was in the 4th grade. It was from like 2006 or whatever, and it looks just like that.
My fucking god.
I was reading, it was like, "Hi, Grandma. I miss you. I just want to say I'm in the office with Pop." It's like that. Like that's how his notes look like. You know what I
Oy
mean? It
vey.
looks like a fucking child wrote the notes.
Well, with those small hands, dude. I mean, I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? Fucking look.
He's
my
got to
hands.
grip the Sharpie like this.
Yeah, legit, little fist.
Like he has to fist the Sharpie. And
Oh my god! No precision at all. No, it's beautiful. I'm glad you mentioned that because it's fucking fantastic. And what was it? And watching it, dude, it was and then watching the Nazis, the march in on their horses. I literally said to my mom, I'm like, you know what this is, Mom? This is literal fascism on horseback.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is. And you know what's funny is that in that
Next year we'll get fascism on ice.
yeah, bro, there we go. Hey, coming soon to a theater near you, man. It's sponsored by Disney. But what happens is they have fucking Elsa, all your favorite characters marching in, with guns and shit.
Yeah,
But
Elsa sings the sound of music, you know?
fucking shoot them all. Fucking, but,
All right.
but here's the thing, though. One last thing, though, is the fact, what was it? Yeah. Because you know how a lot of times when people will make commentary on our government, how we say, oh, we live in a monopoly, we live in a fascist, we live in a whatever. And that span of a half an hour of all those things happening with his speech and then the Nazis being sick on the people, we literally showed traits. It was like we were shape-shifting in real time.
Yeah.
We were shape-shifting from communism to fascism, to what I call oligarchy. And why I say that is that, okay, the communism part of it being talking about law and order, talking about God, what happens is that like communism, like we discussed in that episode we did a while back, where there is no God. The God is the government. The God is the system.
Yeah.
It is that political system. And in that case, that was what Trump was calling for, law and order under how he sees it. Because at that point, he is a God. Here is Trump's holy book, of law and order that he's going to hold in his hand and preach to the country of how they need to act, how they need to follow the gospel of Trump, laced in fucking ass and cancer and fucking suit and manure, fucking, what is it? Fucking Revelations fucking 666, right there, man. Psalm 666 right there in Trump. We declare on this day, holy be thy God of Orange, Agent Orange, and to conquer the streets and dominate. Here's what we need to do. We need to dominate the streets. But right now, look, actually, you know what?
I was going to say, let me just get into this.
Go ahead.
And then you can say it.
Go ahead.
As we wrap up right now, because I think this is a good place, what is something that you believe, and I'll leave it off to you to end the episode today.
Sure.
What is it, what do you believe that the average person that maybe believes in Black Lives Matter, believes in equality, wants to do something, and keep in mind COVID, you know what I mean? What is something that somebody can do like this week in order to help get the word out or to, and not because they feel like they have to, because they want to? Like, what's something that you think that would be good that they could do to help out?
Well, a few things come to mind. I mean, number one, I know you were saying at the top of the episode that, hey, just doing a podcast, you're not really doing much, but it's conversations like these, even though they're being had over and over again, it's conversations like these that I believe will inspire someone, whether it be one person, 10 people, whatever it may be, to actually inspire them to go and do things. So what are those things they can do? So the first one that comes to mind, because I was thinking about this myself yesterday and the day before, kind of controversial nowadays, but voting. And what I mean by this is that, yes, again, I fully acknowledge that, our system is flawed from the ground up. Yes, it'd be hard to get change. I am not naive to that. But if you have the chance to actually look into what ballot measures are on are on there when you go to vote. See if there's any, or see what your local elections are about. See who's running. Do some research. See if there's anyone that you can vote in, because this shit has to happen from the ground up if you want some change, right? That's the way it always has been.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that look to see if there's any candidate that is going to be, that has a record, an actual legit record that is actually for, whether it be civil rights, for like good, better racial relations, things like that. Get those people in there, vote them in, give them some support, fucking spread the word online, do what you have to do with that. Besides that, talk to your friends, talk to your family, continue having these conversations, because at some point, because who knows, it's like you may potentially, again, I know I'm being kind of naive here, but it's a possibility, so I'm going to put it out there. You may potentially give them a thought that might make them think a little bit differently. It's possible.
Yeah.
You can't change everyone's minds. That's not what I'm saying, but continue to talk about it. Look into your local elections, things like that.
Don't let the narrative die.
Exactly.
Is what
Keep
you're
it alive.
saying. Don't let
Keep
the
it
narrative,
alive.
because that's exactly what people like Derek Chauvin want, and the officers and George Zimmerman, and that's exactly what those people want. So as much as I was burnt out on the topic, again, it came from a different kind of place. It wasn't that I'd never want to talk about this again. I'm not in the mood to talk about
It's
it.
exhausting.
Seeing
all this fucking shit
It is.
happen.
It's emotionally exhausting. It's like, I can't believe, I have to tell myself, like, I can't believe that I have to continue doing this. That this is like something in 2020, like 100 years ago, women got the right to vote, 1920. And however many years ago, we abolished slavery in the 1860s. It's like we're still having this fucking conversation. And it's absurd and it's sad, first and foremost. It's frightening. It's terrifying. It's terrible that we have to continue having this conversation. But because we have to have this conversation, we should want to have the conversation.
Yeah.
We should want to have that space to be able to communicate and to allow people to know that, listen, like, whatever you are, you might look different than me. You might worship a different God than me. You might worship, or I might not worship, or vice versa.
Right.
You might have a different belief system, or whatever it is that you do. Our cultures might be different, but you're still a human being. You're still somebody with feelings and emotions. You're still somebody's kid, or you have children. Then,
That's the biggest thing. And
it's just, I don't know, dude. It's just that's what's exhausting to me, is that people, that can't get through people's heads.
And the last thing that I'll say, and I think it's kind of like, this might drive the point home, I think. Remember how I told you that story about, what was it, a couple of years ago when I went to kind of do my own little journey where I was researching other like religions and talking to different religions and whatever.
Yeah.
And being able to understand them a little better, to the point, because if we can do anything, it's talking to each other, number one.
Yeah.
But then number two, being willing to hear each other out, but also being willing to be wrong.
Yeah.
That's being okay with the fact, and being able to put your pride aside when you have these kinds of important conversations like that. Because you may feel indirectly attacked, you may feel this way, but definitely, if there's one thing that I learned as a kid that has helped me out to this day, is looking at someone's perspective through their shoes. And when you do that, that's not saying that you believe that they're right, but it's giving you a chance and giving them a chance, a platform to say how they feel. And then, you know what, you may learn something. Or if you don't learn anything, at least you could say, you know what, even though we ended up not agreeing still, at least we were able to have the dialogue.
Exactly.
And so as long as we can decrease ignorance, we can decrease hate, we can decrease racism. Maybe not entirely eliminate the shit, but the more we can fucking weed out those bad apples that have ruined the fucking orchard, as they say, and get that shit cleaned up as best as possible, then we got to do it. We have to do it. We should do it.
Listen, man, I could not agree more. Listen, I think that's a good place to wrap this up. So make sure that you continue to do your part and help out where you can. Get out, hit the streets if possible. Obviously, if you're like immunocompromised or you can't do that, then that's okay.
Yeah, you can
but
vote.
just
You can
remember
from home.
to vote, to mail in if you can. Do what you can do. Do you know what I'm saying? Just don't sit and be quiet, because that's perpetuating the issue. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can find the podcast over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, basically anywhere you get your podcast will be available.
Damn straight.
And remember what I said at the beginning of the episode, that things are going to be kind of different. I'm going to be doing the solo show once a week on Twitch only. So go follow me over there at Donnie Ego. Also, if you want updates on that, you can follow me on Instagram at Donnie Ego, Twitter, Donnie_Ego. We're going to get Brendan set up pretty soon. I know.
Actually, I have
you
an
got your
announcement to make.
Twitter set up.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
let's go.
I
Hit
do.
'em. Hit 'em.
Fucking finally. God. All right. So in my Twitter, my handle is at @ThatEdgyComic. Now
That Edgy Comic.
yes, capital T, and then there's a capital. Basically, there's a capital in each of the beginning
That
words.
Edgy Comic.
Yep, capital T, capital E, capital C. What do you call it? And from there, I got a new fucking fly profile picture. Now, for right now, it is just me retweeting shit and whatever. But as time goes on, as things start to reopen, I'm gonna let you guys in on my stand up. I'm gonna let you guys in on some other things I'm gonna be doing. So yeah, if you wanna do a little premature act, fucking yeah, feel free to follow me there if you want.
Yeah, go over there. Tell him how small his penis is.
Yes,
Tell him
and I will agree.
Donnie sent you.
And I will agree with you.
Yeah. So, so you can follow him over there. Well, that's exciting to add to the roster now.
Yes.
So go follow my boy Brendan, That Edgy Comic on Twitter.
Baby.
And yeah, so also, if you're into that Twitch gaming or if you want to watch that once a week live stream of the solo show of the podcast,
All my gamers.
Donnie Ego on Twitch.
Woo.
Let's get it happening. Let's get affiliates,
get it
ladies and
poppin'.
gentlemen. Let's get it going.
Big things.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Have a fantastic week. Don't forget, do your part. Say
Stay
what you
smart.
got to say. Stay smart. Air it out.
Bam.